Hi folks, welcome to your Smash Grapes Best Spanish Wine Tasting Kit. Coming up, you've got our 6 drink-along videos with a little bit more information on each of the wines. Enjoy. This is Centellio Moscatel from La Mancha in Spain.
Yes, here we have a blend of Spain's most widely planted white grape, Aren, with a hint of Moscatel, the Spanish name for the French grape Muscat, which pops up in sweet wines all over Europe. This is no sweet wine though. Aren blends are the staple of what the Spanish like to call, and a style we love, table wines.
Now, I'm a big fan of table wines because I think they're the very symbol of what wine should be about. No fuss, no frills, just really tasty, really easy drinking. They don't need to be the centre of attention, more like the accompaniment to whatever's going on, a great family meal, a wedding, whatever that occasion is.
That's right, and the Spanish, particularly in La Mancha, are excellent at these types of wine because they have been doing it for so long. Every man and his dog is making their own wine in this part of Spain, and they make it for one reason only: quenching thirst. But there is a bit of science behind it. Aren is high acid grape variety. It maintains acidity even when fully ripened in the Spanish sun. Acidity is the mouth-watering, thirst-quenching element of wine. Muscatel adds a little sugar, not too much though. This is not a sweet wine, but a touch of sugar in wine is what makes it moreish, and that's exactly what we have here. Thirst quenching, but moreish. You could sink a whole bottle accidentally very easily.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, what makes this a great table wine is it just tastes so fresh, like they've just squeezed it off the vine and into a glass. You know, am I imagining that?
No, not at all. That is actually the result of what winemakers call only free-run juice. Basically the juice that comes straight from the grape naturally as they are pressed under their own weight. No hardcore mechanical pressing here to squeeze out every drop. That tends to result in bitter, astringent flavours from the skin and stalks seeping through to the wine, and you just don't have that here.
Okay. I mean, it's a staple in my house, and I'm guessing it's going to go with most things. Yeah?
Absolutely. Start any meal with it. Fish, white meat, cheese, salads. Really great with tapas, a cracking all-rounder wine.
Perfection. Cheers. This is Pigasso Verdeo, a Vino de la Tierra from Spain.
Yes, Verdeo, the grape here, very much the Sauvignon Blanc of Spain, high in acid and refreshing, a mix of fruity flavours and those signature green notes Sauvignon tends to have, like gooseberry and herbs. This Verdeo is what's called a Vino de la Tierra, or VDT. They have a similar term in France, both meaning wine of the land. What it basically means is there is no specific certified region that these grapes belong to. However, we know that this winemaker, Victor Manzanos, a favourite of ours, is based between Rioja and a region called Navarra.
Okay, so should we be worried about wines from unspecified regions? VDTs are pretty common, but how are they different to something that says, you know, Rioja or La Mancha on the bottle?
VDTs basically mean less rules and regs about how wine is made, as it's not come from a certified region. However, if you know who's made the wine, you know the quality of the practices they use. That's why if you are going to buy VDT wines, it's great if you can speak to the retailer about where it comes from.
Okay. I mean, it's a great intro to Verdeo, and if I'm a Sauvignon lover, is there anything else I can find kind of with this Spanish equivalent?
For sure, the region of Rueda, which cuts through the central west of Spain and links up with Portugal's Douro River, is famous for fantastic Verdeo. You will often in fact find it blended with Sauvignon Blanc throughout Spain as they go so well together. Verdeo has this almost sparkling-like acidity, which some people say makes the wine almost crunchy, similar to the French styles of Sauvignon Blanc like Touraine or Sancerre, rather than your big fruity styles like New Zealand.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, an absolute patio wine, or can we match it up with foods as well?
Definitely a great patio wine, super chilled in the sun. However, just like Sauvignon, Verdeo does go great with white cheeses like feta, goats or ricotta, also asparagus or any green veg for that matter.
Health.
Cheers.
This is Tequero Organic Field Blend from La Mancha in Spain.
Yes, no grape variety to speak of here as we are drinking a field blend, meaning a variety of grapes are planted in the field, usually in no order with not much record, harvested all together and made into one wine.
Now, that's not what we're used to when we're looking at wines. You know, is this something new?
No, quite the opposite actually. Field blends are a more traditional way of growing and making wine. The idea being that as different grapes do better in different weather conditions, you hedge your bets by having a decent variety growing across the field. That way, whether it's a particularly hot year or a particularly cold year, you'll always get a consistent crop.
Okay, so vineyards or winemakers that specialise in just one or two grapes, that's actually something new.
Yes, that's right. Having what we call a single varietal wine is actually fairly modern, something that came in with the rise of the New World wine regions. However, it leaves them open to risk. If you have, say, the perfect temperate climate to grow Sauvignon Blanc, and then one year it's freakishly hot, the Sauvignon will suffer. You'll either get less wine or it will taste different, which usually leads to a price change. With field blends having different players that do well in different conditions, you're increasing your chances of a win.
Okay, that's all well and good, but how will I know if I like a field blend if I don't know what's in it?
Like with any wine, to guess the flavours you really need to look at the weather. This is La Mancha, a central part of Spain, well inland, very hot and very dry. White grapes here will need to be hardy and will need to be able to put up with the ripening sun. This will make them fuller, usually with tropical fruit flavours.
I mean, yeah, it's still really crisp and refreshing though. You know, that usually comes from cooler climates though, right?
True, but really great, experienced winemaking will mean that grapes can still retain some natural acidity, even when super ripe. And it's that acidity that keeps it crisp and refreshing.
I mean, another great all-rounder, I think.
For sure, this will really go with most things. Fish, seafood, even the richer, spicier sauce.
Oof, delightful.
Cheers.
This is the Castillo de Andres Chardonnay from Navarra in Spain.
Yes, made by one of our favourite producers, Victor Manzanos. This wine comes from a little-known region right next door to Rioja called Navarra. It shares a border with Rioja, and Victor grows grapes in both regions, a mix of Riojan classics as well as more international varieties like Chardonnay.
Now, Chardonnay, Sam. I know you're a big fan, but it can be hard to sell to many of our fellow winos. It's just not had the best reputation for a while, right?
Yeah, you're right. After a long period of fairly terrible winemaking, masked by very over-eager use of oak, Chardonnay has gained itself a bit of a reputation and can be quite a Marmite wine. However, of all the grapes out there in the world to try, Chardonnay really should be the least likely to polarize people, as it's just so versatile. And really, how it tastes is completely down to where and how it's grown, not the grape itself. Chardonnay is great at reflecting where it is in its flavour.
Okay, so what can I expect then from a Chardonnay from north of Spain?
Well, we're still pretty warm in the north, but Chardonnay is very tolerant of that, maintaining its acidity. The Atlantic isn't that far away though, cooling the region down with ocean breezes. There's no oak here in this Chardonnay, and all the fermentation was done in steel rather than in barrel. This isn't to be cheaper or anything, or more modern, it's to avoid imparting any flavour, keeping the wine style super fresh and fruity. No signs of butteriness or toasty notes like some big Chardonnays.
I mean, and at 12.5%, this really is kind of cool climate style, up there with, you know, your Sauvignons or your Pinot Grigios.
Absolutely, fresh stone fruit flavours, clean and crisp, a real summer Chardonnay. But it does have that typical silky touch you get from this grape. It's not as jagged as, say, Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot is with its acidity. Worth a try if you find those types of wines a little too astringent.
Yeah, I was never a fan of those tongue-meltingly high-acid whites, and this is a little bit more in my wheelhouse. You know, what sort of things are we pairing this with?
Great one for light chicken dishes with this, a chicken salad or a pasta dish.
Oh, great stuff.
Cheers.
This is Gatito Loco Organic Rioja Blanco from Spain.
Yes, a white Rioja, a wine that is increasing in popularity here in the UK. The traditional style of which is usually big, rich and packed full of oak. These guys, however, have gone for a more modern take on this old school white. A clean, crisp and intense wine, super fresh and fruity.
Okay, so Rioja is not a grape, but a region that make a specific style of wine. I know that the reds are a blend of Tempranillo and Garnacha, as well as some others. What's going on in this white Rioja?
White Rioja, just like red, has a small choice of grapes that can blend together, but they almost always start with two. Voucher, which is the Rioja name for Macabeo, the white grape found in Cava, and Tempranillo Blanco, white Tempranillo. Now, just like in red Rioja, oak usually plays a really important role in the whites as well. Different levels of oaking make these wines very, very rich with flavours that can sometimes feel like you're drinking a vanilla Yankee candle. These guys have decided to go with no oak and just let the grapes do the talking.
So no oak and 12.5% alcohol. Would we call this a light white wine? There seems to be plenty going on to it.
Yeah, definitely not light. Well, light in feel, yes, it's a light-bodied white because of the lower alcohol, lack of oak. However, we are in fairly warm territory here, so we've got all sorts of fruity stuff going on. Stone fruits, peachy notes, tons of tropical fruit flavours like passion fruit and mango. It's actually amazing how fruity this wine is when it's not covered up with that big old helping of wood.
Look, I mean, I'm loving it. Can I find this style of Spanish white anywhere else?
For sure, outside of Rioja, Voucher, as I said, is called Macabeo. Macabeo can be found all over Spain, including places like La Mancha, where the heat gets it really full and fruity like this.
I mean, I'm going to call the pairing on this one. It's got paella written all over it.
100% of paella wine this. It's light enough for fish and chicken, etc. But there's more than enough going on to stand up to all those more intense flavours in the pan.
Muy bien.
Cheers.
This is Finca Manzanos Tempranillo Blanco from Rioja in Spain.
Yes, an unusual white Rioja from one of our favourites again, Victor Manzanos, unusual in the fact that it is 100% Tempranillo Blanco, unlike most white Riojas that start with the majority of Voucher in the blend. Victor also champions some of the less historically popular parts of Rioja and into his home region of Navarra right next door.
Okay, so, not only is Rioja not a grape, but it's a region that also has sub-regions.
That's right, Rioja can be divided up into three main sub-regions, Rioja Alta, Rioja Alavesa and Rioja Oriental, meaning Eastern. Alta and Alavesa are seen as the best regions in Rioja because of their very specific distance from the Atlantic Ocean and their altitude, creating Rioja's most expensive wines. Rioja Oriental used to be named Rioja Baja, meaning lower, in reference to the altitude, but winemakers grew increasingly annoyed about the idea that it was because their wines were of a lower quality. Rioja Oriental is now seen as the new kid on the block, and all the best upcoming winemakers want to make Rioja there. This wine is such a new kid, in fact, that Tempranillo Blanco, white Tempranillo, was only discovered at the end of the 20th century and officially registered as a Riojan grape in 2007. Practically a baby in wine terms.
I mean, that's all well and good. What are we tasting in this Vino then?
Well, all sorts. This wine has had 4 months in a mixture of French and American oak barrels, each giving their own flavour. Fruitiness tends to be peachy and tropical, but it's the time in wood that makes sweeter, creamier and spicy flavours. It's a real meal in a glass.
I like those woody flavours, but they've not really gone too hard on it in here, have they?
No, these Riojas are not like the reds. You've got to treat the oak aging with care or you're drinking sawdust. I think they've done a great job of keeping it fresh and fruity.
What would you eat with it?
Really, really garlicky prawns for me. It's a light dish, but packed with flavour, kind of like this.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching our drink along videos. We hope you enjoyed the wine. Don't forget to come back and spend your £10 voucher on your favourites.